Hey everyone, this is Renier, and today we're going to see another game by Dmitry Andreikin, played in the Capablanca in Memoriam against Lázaro Bruzón. You know Lázaro Bruzón, he's as well as Dominguez, one of the top rated in Cuba, almost 2700. Okay, Andreikin is playing with black and he played the Kahn variation. Again, remember that we already saw a game in which he played against Dominguez, an excellent game, beautiful, won by black, and here he used the variation again. Bruzón is a kind of player that he plays e4, d4, c4 depending on the opponent. He doesn't care so much about opening preparation. He can play the free moves very well, and he decided to go to fight Andreikin in the Kahn variation, and what they played is very interesting. Now Bruzón played the move bishop e3, which is one of the critical ideas against the Kahn. It's an aggressive plan, I think invented by Anand, who played in 2003 against Markowski, a Polish grandmaster. Well, the idea is to play f4, queen e2 or queen f3, knight b1 to d2, and queenside castle. In case that black decides to play like a normal Schmeling hand with d6, normal Sicilian, he can get in trouble like Markowski did. For example, in that game, after knight c6, Markowski played d6, knight d2, knight f6, f4, b6. The problem for black is that he cannot play b5 either, because if you play b5 now, a4 breaks the queen side pretty bad, and if you play b4, the square c4 is available for the knight on d2, so b6 is not the best, it's very passive, and after queen e2, bb7, castle, queen c7, g4, you don't want to have this position against a strong player with white. He has all the attack, all the space, and his position is very secure. I mean, if you look at white's position, it doesn't have any flaw. There is not any sign of counterplay from black. You can see these pawns on b6, the knight is still on b8. Is already looking pretty bad, I think, in my opinion. But Andreikin played knight c6, okay, which is more normal. Knight b1 to d2, and now a very interesting idea which I hadn't noticed until now, d5 at once without any further preparation. Black doesn't let white play f4, nothing. He goes d5 and aims for a position of the French structure, the Tarrasch variation with the isolated queen's pawn. Now e takes d5 is the logical move. f4 has been played but doesn't make much sense after d takes on e4, bishop takes. Now black can play knight f6, and after bishop takes on c6, b takes on c6. His structure and the bishop on c8 is kind of ugly, but I don't think this is very serious. I mean, black can play at some point c5 and bishop b7, and his problems will go away. I think the bishop on c8 has a lot of potential. Also the square d5 for the knight. I don't think this is dangerous for black. And also here before knight f6, he can try just queen c7 followed by knight f6 with the idea of capturing on c6 always with the queen, and there is not a real problem here. So okay, this is the logical move. E takes d5, e takes d5, and now settle for a position in which black has this weak pawn on d5. On the other hand, he has solved all his problems of development, and he has comfortable squares for the minor pieces, and his position is solid. I think if white is better, he only has a very small advantage. castle, knight f6, h3, castle, now rook e1. Okay, white is getting ready to play knight f3, c3, knight d4, which is the normal ideas in this type of position to blockade the isolated pawn. And yes, blockading is very easy, but the problem in this position is not so much about blockading, but how to actually get something out of it, how to capture it, or how to create strong threats. It's not really clear. Rook e8, bishop f4. I guess this idea of bishop f4 is aimed against the bishop d6 move, not let black improve the bishop. I still don't understand it very well. Perhaps a little better was c3, a6, and then knight f3. This looks more logical. But now, of course, black can play bishop d6, for example, with the idea of bishop d7, or bishop d7, queen c7, and bring the rook from a8 to c8 or d8, depending on the situation, or not do any of that at all and just play at some point a knight d5 and trade a couple of knights. And again, the position remains solid for black, perhaps a very small edge to white. So bishop f4, knight b4, disturbing the bishop on d3, bishop f1, and now knight c6. You can see, okay, black this is a very important moment, because it defines the character of the position and the ideas that Andreikin has on this. Of course, he's not aiming for much. I guess he's only aiming for equality. That's why knight b4, knight c6. He removes the bishop from d3, forces into a passive situation, but he's willing to accept a repetition, at least at first sight. Of course, white doesn't have to do any of this. He could just go like in the game and play c3, which is logical, but this allows black a little more. Allows black to play bishop f5, and a square that he couldn't play before. So the bishop is more active on this diagonal, and it's quite relevant, I think. Knight f3, knight e4. This is the move that black has been waiting for, I guess. Oh, I forgot to mention another thing here. When I said c3, a6, knight f3, perhaps instead of bishop d6, black can try something like knight e4. The knight on e4 followed by bishop f5 or bishop f6. This could also be a move, and I don't think is bad for black. So bishop f4, knight b4, bishop f1, knight c6, c3, bishop f5, knight f3, and then knight e4. Now that the knight on d2 is gone, black uses the knight on e4, and there are some plans to attack f2 with queen b6 or bishop c5 if the knight on b3 is removed. Now, okay, part of white's plan is knight bd4, and that's what he plays. Okay, and you can play this position in several ways. I guess normal would be bishop g6 with the idea of bishop c5 and queen b6. I like this idea. I think even if at some point you can force multiple exchange on d4 and force white to take with the pawn on d4, it will be closer to equal to black. So here Andreikin played in a different way. He went knight takes on d4, which relieves the tension a little bit, changed a couple of knights, so he doesn't have to worry about knight takes on c6 and weak hanging pawns. Knight takes and bishop g6. This is what I was talking about at the beginning of the game. You can see that white successfully blockaded the d5 pawn, but what is the real threat? I mean, if black doesn't do anything and just goes queen d7, rook a to d8, bishop f6 or bishop c5 or even bishop f8, just remove the bishop, black's position looks very solid, and the bishop on g6 is very active. Doesn't allow any counterplay, I think. Actually, it is black who can start some counterplay later with knight c5, queen d7. There is a square on a4 as well that we will see later, some ideas like that. Now Bresson plays g3. What to improve there? What's there to improve? Black has a clear plan, and I don't see the clear path for white. So Bresson plays g3, trying to improve the bishop to g2. Queen a6, bishop g2, queen d7, rook c1, and now bishop c5. For the time being, the knight on d4 is pinned, and yes, it looks very logical to play bishop e3. Rook a to d8, knight b3, and now bishop f8. Looks normal play at this point. You can see that black has some interesting ideas. Knight g5, queen a4, for example. That's another square. And also maybe at some point maybe it was better to capture on e3. I have this great variation here. Bishop takes on e3, rook takes on e3, and then knight g5, which poses some problems for white, because now black is threatening to take on e3, breaking the pawn structure, and also take on h3. So white's best move is to take on d5, and then knight takes on h3, king f1. Okay, if you take on e3, he takes on d7, and then after rook takes on d7, bishop takes on h3. That's the idea, and both rooks are under attack. The rook on d7 is under attack, and the rook on e3 is also under attack. That's white's idea. But black has a terrific move here, queen a4, attacking the queen, and still with the attack on the rook on e3, and also the queen on a4 is very active, ready to check on c4 or b5. So white doesn't have many choices here, but he has also an amazing move, rook e1. Yes, sacrificing the queen for the two rooks. Rook takes d5, rook takes on e8, king h7, bishop takes on d5. Now, positions should be about equal. White's rooks should not be underestimated. There is the pawn on b7 is weak, and also the knight on d4, you can see that will be a very strong piece. So the best would be to keep playing active. So queen takes on a2, king g2, knight g5, and now white has nice idea of rook e2, threatening rook to a1. Fortunately for black, he has bishop h5, attacking the rook, and after rook d2, bishop f3, bishop takes, knight takes, king takes, and queen b3. And after rook e7, we will have to say that the position is roughly equal. I don't think that the queen cannot outplay the two rooks in this position. And actually, yeah, it should be an equal endgame. White will play rook d7, sacrifice the b2 pawn for the b7 pawn. Yeah, it most likely will be equal here. Of course, there is room for mistakes and imprecisions, but I don't see either side winning. So this is another nice variation in this middle game. That, okay, it was a possibility, but the normal move, the human move, would be bishop f8. You don't want to trade too many pieces that will lead you into an endgame in which you have an isolated pawn and all the white pieces pointing at it. The bishop on g2 is for a reason. So now queen d4. The queen is looking for activity, perhaps to play rook c d1 and put more pressure on d5, or maybe queen b6. But however you put it, the d4 square is not great for the queen. It's not great at all. Perhaps Bresson was thinking about queen a4 from black and he wanted to stop it, but I don't really like the move. Now he went black went bishop f5, attacking h3, h4. I think yeah, king h2 perhaps is more cautious, is maybe better. So, but of course it wouldn't prevent black from attacking the h3 pawn with knight g5 again. So h4, bishop h3, trying to trade the light square bishop. That bishop on g2 is the one putting pressure in black's pieces, so it also would weaken the king a little bit. Black is starting to try to create counterplay against the white king. Queen d1, recognizing the mistake and trying to find a new setup for his pieces. Maybe queen f3 and the knight back to d4. Bishop takes on g2, king takes, and f5. Active play from black, not necessarily forced, but he wants to play active now. A plan could be queen f7, bishop d6 and f4. That would be an attacking plan. Queen f3, bishop d6, bishop b6, and we arrive into the critical moment of this game, in which Andreikin shows why he's one of the most I mean, it's really an attraction to see him play because of his style. I mean, the normal move here would be rook c8, and probably I don't know, a high percent of the strong players that I know would play this without spending more than 10 minutes in this position. So, but Andreikin found another move here, and I have to say the whole is beyond whether it's right or wrong. It's just very impressive. He went f4. Here you have two guys, almost 2700, and one is giving up a rook for unclear complications. I say unclear because it's not really sure, right? What black obtains for the rook. Bishop takes on d8, f takes on g3. That's the whole point. And now, yes, it's an exchange in principle. If you capture on g3, probably black takes on g3, and then he will take on d8, and yes, it will all turn out to be just an exchange, and the white king very weak. But of course, white can play a move like bishop b6, hanging on to his material advantage, and black will have no more choice than g takes on f2, and this is what he was counting on. The idea is that black is going to play rook f8, remove the queen from f3 so he can go all the way in with queen g4 or queen f7 and start attacking the white king. So rook f1, the desperate sacrifice with rook takes on e4 doesn't work. After d takes on e4, queen e2, yes, looks like white is going to take on f2, but no, e3 followed by queen c6 check and queen e4, and white is pretty much lost. So rook f1 would be the only move, and now rook f8. White has queen h3. This would be the defense, and now probably black can just take on h3, king takes, and settle for a draw with rook f3, king g2, and rook g3. And there is always a perpetual check here. But of course, this is not all of it. Instead of queen h3, I was wondering, what if queen f7, threatening queen g6 check, and knight g3 check, and then there would be discovered checks and black would be winning. White has a move. He has h5. Just that pawn prevents queen g6. But now there is also much more complications. Black can play d4. All of this probably Andreikin did not see when he played f4, of course not, but the variations prove that his intuition was right, was correct. There are many chances for white to make mistakes, and the position is fairly complex. For example, here after d4, if bishop takes on d4, knight g5, threatening the queen on h3, and also threatening to play queen d5, winning. So the only move would be knight takes on d4, and then knight g5, queen f5, only move, prevent a queen d5 check, queen takes on a2, and again only move queen a5. Black can return to f7, and white can force a draw with queen f5. I have to say that queen takes on h5 is not enough after rook h1, queen e8 only move, and now queen d5 check takes over the diagonal, and the white king seems safe. So this is an amazing variation from this position. The critical idea is not bishop b6, it's queen d3, attacking d5. This was probably the best. Then after queen f7, f3. This is the problem. This is what both players may have missed. Then rook d8. White cannot take on e4 because of queen f2, but he can play rook d1 and just put pressure on d5 and try to force more simplifications with knight d2 coming. So bishop c7, not knight d2 now because the threat is knight f2, so queen e2 first, and after knight f2, rook d4 defends everything, and after king h7, queen e6 is starting to look good for white. But pay attention, he's up a rook, well, an exchange, and here, yeah, it seems like white consolidates his advantage after knight d2. Black's counterplay starts running out. So, okay, it's an interesting move, and in this complicated position, Brusson was first to make the mistake, and he went queen h5, a decisive mistake just when the complications start. Now rook e5, attacking the queen, but most important, winning an important tempo, defending d5, and black will take on f2 next. Queen g6, only square, d takes on f2, rook e3, only move again. If rook h1, black would play queen d8 and keep on with his attack. It would not be too difficult from this position. There are ideas, knight g5 for example, rook e3, then queen takes on d8, he's taking on h4, so rook h1, and now queen back to d7 with the threat of rook e6. The plan now is to get the queen out of g6, so black can start bringing the pieces near the white king. So king f1, rook e6, queen g4, and now h5, and again fighting for the g3 square. This is the move that wins the game. White doesn't have much choice but to take the pawn. And now after knight g3 check, rook takes, bishop takes e3, the d5 pawn is protected, so there is no way he can force anything, and suddenly, yeah, white is lost. No chance for defense. After king g2, rook e1, and resigns because rook f1 is met with rook takes and queen h3 check. So there is nothing white can do at this point. Also, to any move, black will take on h1 and play queen h3. Okay, so this is the end of it, and this is everything for today. Hope you enjoy it. It's an interesting idea in the Kahn variation. I don't think it's very pretentious, it's just playing for equality, but it has potential. And okay, if you are wondering about the plan to meet this idea of bishop e3 and f4, that is, I find it very annoying, very aggressive, this could be a decent alternative. Okay, thanks for watching, and any comments leave it in the forum.